My wife's affair with her sister blew up when I exposed them at Thanksgiving dinner. I found out my wife Sarah was sleeping with her sister Emma exactly 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. I wasn't supposed to come home early from my business trip, but my flight got moved up. I walked into our bedroom and there they were, tangled together in our sheets like some twisted family reunion. The worst part? I stood there for a full 30 seconds before they noticed me. Sarah's face went white. Emma just smirked. Like she'd been waiting for this moment her whole life. How long? Was all I could manage. 2 years, Sarah whispered. 2 years. Our entire engagement. Most of our marriage. While I was working overtime to pay for our dream house, planning our future, Sarah was planning something else entirely with the sister who'd been my maid of honor. Emma stretched like a cat. You were never enough for her, Mark. You know that, right? I should have screamed. Should have thrown them both out. Instead, I just nodded and walked downstairs. Because deep down, some sick part of me had always known. The way they whispered together at family gatherings. How Emma always seemed to know things about Sarah that I didn't. The sudden girls' trips that started right after our honeymoon. I sat in my kitchen for 3 hours, staring at the Thanksgiving menu Sarah had left on the counter. Turkey for 12 people. Her whole family was coming. Her parents, who treated me like the son they never had. Her brother Jake, who called me his best friend. The aunts and uncles who welcomed me into their family with open arms. They had no idea their perfect daughters were destroying everything. Sarah came downstairs eventually. Makeup fixed, hair brushed, looking like the woman I fell in love with 5 years ago. She sat across from me and tried to explain. Said it just happened. Said Emma seduced her. Said she never meant for it to go this far. Are you leaving me? She asked. I looked at her sitting there, still beautiful, still the woman whose laugh made me believe in soulmates. And I realized something terrifying. I didn't want her to leave. Even knowing what she'd done, who she'd done it with, I still loved her. That's how pathetic I'd become. No, I said. But Thanksgiving is in 3 weeks. She looked confused. What does that have to do with anything? Your whole family will be here. In our house. Eating our food. Celebrating how grateful they are for each other. Sarah's face went pale again. Mark, you can't. Think about my parents. This would destroy them. That's when I knew exactly what I was going to do. I spent the next 3 weeks planning. Not just the dinner, but the revelation. I wanted it perfect. I wanted it to the way finding them together. I wanted everyone to see what their precious daughters really were. Sarah begged me daily. Promise to end it with Emma. Promise therapy, counseling, whatever I wanted. Emma, meanwhile, started showing up at our house more often. Making herself comfortable. Acting like she'd already won. You should just divorce her, Emma said one evening while Sarah was at the grocery store. Save yourself the embarrassment. I was carving practice turkeys in our kitchen, getting ready for the big day. Why would I be embarrassed? Emma laughed. Because everyone's going to know you couldn't keep your wife satisfied. That she needed a real woman to make her happy. I kept carving. You think you're a real woman, Emma? I think I'm everything you're not. She was right about that. She was cruel where I was kind. Selfish where I was giving. Destructive where I tried to build. And somehow, that's exactly what Sarah wanted. The night before Thanksgiving, Sarah tried one last time. We were lying in bed, in the same sheets where I'd found them, and she rolled over to face me. I love you, she whispered. I know that doesn't mean anything anymore, but I do. What Emma and I have. It's not love. It's something else. Something sick. Then why don't you stop? She was quiet for so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. Then, because I can't. I've tried. God, Mark, I've tried so hard. But when she touches me. I rolled away from her. Don't. I'm sorry. No, you're not. If you were sorry, you'd stop. She started crying then. Quiet, broken sobs that might have moved me 3 weeks ago. Now they just sounded like the soundtrack to my marriage's funeral. What are you going to do tomorrow? She asked. I smiled in the darkness. Make Thanksgiving memorable. Thanksgiving morning started like every other holiday in the Peterson family. Sarah's mom arrived at 8 a.m. with enough side dishes to feed an army. Her dad brought his famous apple pie and spent an hour explaining his new golf clubs to anyone who would listen. Jake showed up with his new girlfriend, nervous about introducing her to the family. Emma was the last to arrive, of course. She always liked to make an entrance. Sorry I'm late, she called out, hugging everyone like she hadn't been secretly destroying their family for 2 years. When she got to me, she whispered, last chance to back out, Mark. I hugged her tighter than usual. Wouldn't miss this for the world. The morning passed in a blur of football games and wine and Sarah's mom telling the same stories about the girls when they were little. How close they'd always been. How they shared everything. How proud she was to have raised such loving daughters. I carved the turkey while everyone gathered around our dining room table. The same table where Sarah and I had planned our wedding. Where we'd talked about having kids someday. Where Emma had eaten dinner with us countless times, playing the supportive sister while secretly plotting to steal my wife. "Mark, this looks incredible," Sarah's dad said as I brought out the turkey. "You've really outdone yourself." I set the platter down in the center of the table, right between Sarah and Emma. Perfect positioning. I wanted today to be special. Something none of us will ever forget. Everyone took their seats. Sarah kept shooting me nervous glances. Emma looked bored, probably counting down the minutes until she could leave. The rest of the family chatted and laughed, completely oblivious. "Should we say grace?" Sarah's mom asked. "Actually," I said, standing up with my wine glass, "I'd like to say something first. A toast." The table went quiet. Sarah gripped her napkin so tight her knuckles went white. 5 years ago, Sarah brought me into this family. You all welcomed me with open arms. Made me feel like I belonged somewhere for the first time in my life. I looked around the table, making eye contact with each person. I thought I knew what love looked like. What loyalty meant. What family was supposed to be. Sarah's dad raised his glass. "Here's to family." "Wait," I said. "I'm not done." The room got tenser. Jake's girlfriend looked confused. Sarah's mom smiled nervously. 3 weeks ago, I came home early from a business trip. I was excited to surprise my wife. To tell her how much I missed her. I paused, savoring the moment. I found her in our bedroom. In our bed. With Emma. The silence was deafening. Sarah's mom's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on our hardwood floor. Red wine spread across the white tablecloth like. "Mark, please," Sarah whispered. "They weren't just talking," I continued. "They were having. In our marriage bed. Something they'd been doing for 2 years, apparently. Our entire engagement. Most of our marriage." Sarah's dad stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "What the are you talking about?" "Ask them," I said, gesturing to his daughters. "Ask your perfect girls what they've been doing behind everyone's backs." Emma finally looked up from her plate. "You're pathetic, Mark. You really think embarrassing us like this is going to make Sarah love you?" "Emma." Sarah's mom gasped. "What? We're all adults here. Sarah's. She always has been. She just married Mark because she was too scared to come out." Emma shrugged. "I helped her figure out who she really is." The room exploded. Sarah's mom started crying. Her dad started yelling. Jake's girlfriend grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Jake followed her, but not before shooting me a look that could have killed. "You couldn't just leave it alone," he said. "You had to destroy everything." Sarah stood up, tears streaming down her face. "Daddy, please. Let me explain." "Explain what?" Her father roared. "How you've been lying to us for years. How you've made a mockery of your marriage. Of this family? It's not what you think," Sarah sobbed. "It's exactly what I think." He turned to Emma. "And you? How could you do this to your sister's marriage? To your family?" Emma laughed. Actually laughed. "What family? You mean the one that would disown us if they knew who we really were? The one that taught us to hide and lie and pretend to be something we're not?" Sarah's mom looked between her daughters like she'd never seen them before. "I don't understand. Emma, you've had boyfriends. You dated that nice boy from church for 3 years." "A cover," Emma said. "All of it. Mom. Sarah's. We've been together since her bachelorette party." The bachelorette party. I felt like I'd been punched. Emma had organized it. Insisted on a weekend in Vegas, just the two of them. Sarah had come back different somehow. Distant. I blamed wedding stress. "Her bachelorette party?" I said slowly. "You seduced her the night before our wedding?" Sarah buried her face in her hands. "Mark, I'm so sorry." I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of it all. I'd married a woman who'd already cheated on me with her sister. I'd spent 2 years trying to figure out why she seemed so unhappy when the answer was sitting at my dinner table every holiday. "So our entire marriage has been a lie," I said. "Not a lie," Sarah said quickly. "I do love you. Just not the way you love Emma." She nodded, still crying. Sarah's dad sat down heavily, suddenly looking every one of his 68 years. "Get out," he said quietly. "Daddy?" Sarah reached for him. "Both of you. Get out of my sight." Emma stood up first. "Gladly. This family is anyway." She looked at me one last time. "You'll never be enough for her, Mark. No man will." Sarah hesitated, torn between following her lover and staying with her family. Her family she'd just lost. The family I'd just destroyed along with my marriage. "Sarah," I said softly. "Go." She looked at me with something that might have been gratitude. Or hatred. I couldn't tell anymore. After they left, the remaining family members sat in stunned silence. The turkey got cold. The wine kept spreading across the tablecloth. Sarah's mom cried quietly while her husband stared at the wall. "I'm sorry," I said finally. "I know this wasn't the right way." Sarah's dad looked at me with eyes full of pain. "There was no right way, son. But you're part of this family. You deserved better. Jake's girlfriend never came back. Jake blamed me for ruining his relationship along with everything else. Sarah's mom stopped calling me. Her dad still sends Christmas cards, but they're addressed to Mark now, not Mark and Sarah. I'm writing this 6 months later from a studio apartment across town. The divorce was final last week. Sarah got the house since she could actually afford the payments without my income. Emma moved in the day after I moved out. The Peterson family imploded exactly the way I'd hoped it would. Sarah's parents got divorced 3 months after Thanksgiving. Turns out discovering your daughters have been committing tends to strain a marriage. Her mom moved to Florida to live with her sister. Her dad drinks now, which never happened before. Jake hasn't spoken to either of his sisters since that night. The family that once gathered for every holiday now can't be in the same room together. I got what I wanted. I destroyed them all. The problem is, I destroyed myself too. Sarah tried to reach out a few times in the first month. Apologetic texts. Requests to talk. I ignored them all until she finally stopped trying. Emma sent me one message, "Hope you're happy now." I was, for about 5 minutes. My friends took sides. Most of them thought what I did was justified but extreme. A few contact entirely, saying I could have just gotten divorced quietly instead of nuking an entire family. They weren't wrong. My work suffered. It's hard to focus on quarterly reports when you're replaying the look on your mother-in-law's face when her world collapsed. I got passed over for a promotion I'd been working toward for 3 years. My boss suggested I take some time off to get my head right. I started drinking. Not like Sarah's dad, but enough. Enough to sleep without dreaming about finding them together. Enough to stop hearing Emma's laugh when she called me pathetic. Enough to forget the way Sarah used to look at me in the beginning, before I became just a convenient cover for who she really was. The worst part isn't the loneliness, though that's brutal. It's the knowledge that I had other choices. I could have confronted them privately. Could have demanded marriage counseling. Could have just left. Instead, I chose nuclear warfare because I was and wanted everyone else to too. Mission accomplished. I see them sometimes around town. Sarah looks happier than she ever did with me, which stings more than it should. Emma looks the same. They hold hands in public now, no longer hiding. They got what they wanted too, I guess. Freedom to be themselves, even if it cost them their family. I heard through Jake that Sarah's mom won't even say their names anymore. That she tells people she only has one child now. That she cries when she sees other mothers with their daughters. I did that. I turned a family secret into a family curse. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just walked away that day. If I'd packed my bags and left a note. Maybe the family would still be intact. Maybe Sarah and Emma could have figured out how to be together without destroying everyone else. Maybe I'd be the one who moved on instead of the one left picking up pieces of a life I chose to shatter. But I didn't walk away. I chose revenge over healing. Destruction over closure. I chose to make sure that if I was going to lose everything, everyone else would too. The thing about revenge is that it works exactly as advertised. You get to watch your enemies suffer. You get to feel righteous and justified. You get your pound of flesh and then some. What they don't tell you is that you have to live with a person who is capable of that kind of cruelty. You have to wake up every morning knowing that when tested, when pushed to your absolute limit, you chose to inflict maximum damage on people you once loved. I'm not the same man who found his wife with her sister that day. That man believed in forgiveness and second chances. That man thought he was above petty revenge. That man died at my Thanksgiving table, and I'm not sure who replaced him. Sarah was right about one thing: what she and Emma had was sick. But what I did in response was sicker. I weaponized love. I turned a family dinner into a war zone. I made sure that for the rest of their lives, every time the Petersons think about Thanksgiving, they'll remember the day their family died. I won. I got my revenge. I made them all pay for what Sarah and Emma did to me. The victory tastes like ashes and wine stains that won't come out of white tablecloths, and I'm the only one left to swallow it.